Hey guys, my name is Josh. You might know me as Matt Charcoal. Today I'm going to do a drawing demonstration, a quick drawing portrait tutorial. We're going to draw this crusty old man right here. It looks like this is pretty crazy, but I think it's going to be a really cool reference, a really cool drawing to create. He's got a lot of wrinkles, a lot of interesting stuff going on, and a really cool beard. Let's get into the materials we're going to use today. We're going to keep it real simple, real basic. This is willow charcoal, not vine charcoal. Willow charcoal goes a little bit darker. A little bit more closer to compressed charcoal than vine charcoal. It's a little bit too light, so I like to use this stuff. It's shaved down a little bit because of how I draw with it. Used to be a really big piece. Now we have some compressed charcoal. This compressed charcoal is super useful to get really dark. It's harder to erase and you have to use it effectively without getting a little bit too crazy with it, because then you can easily just darken your whole piece and you can pull it out as quickly. Now we have a kneaded eraser. This is the only eraser I'm going to be using today. Super useful because you can mold it into a chisel shape to erase some details, or you can just round it out to erase big areas and lighten areas. That's what's super useful about the kneaded eraser. Then we have an old dirty blending stump. I like to use them when they're dirty and old because you can spread the material easier, and you can actually put material down without even having charcoal there to blend because it's just so dirty, and it'll unify the piece. It's kind of like working with paint. If you use a dirty brush, sometimes you could get some nicer, more natural tones out of it. It's kind of like that. And so last thing we have here is a charcoal pencil, and this charcoal pencil is kind of short, right? And it's kind of sharpened, a little bit dull, but it's a lot of the charcoal showing. And I have it on a pencil extender so I can grip it a little bit better and work some details onto it. I might not even use it, we'll see. And we have this paddle of sandpaper. I use this so I can take off some of this material from this willow charcoal here, collect some of the dust. You can actually sharpen your willow charcoal to the point you want, but some of this dust is actually what I use to tone the paper a little bit into the dark areas before starting it by slapping it onto the paper. You might see that in some of my shorts, reels or TikToks, whatever you're on. And I like to push some of that tone onto the white paper so it's not as scary to start the drawing. And it's not as intimidating to go from white to black when you're working, but nice gray tones kind of create mid-tones that you can kind of manipulate, work with, kind of like a sculpture and having a block of clay down. Take this willow charcoal dust, and I see that there's a lot of darkness down here, so I'm going to actually try to hit this area here on the drawing and put some material down like that. I'm going to shape it a little bit into the general area. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's not going to be. Remove some of that hanging stuff. It's probably not the greatest to breathe this in so much, but keep my distance and not inhale it all that much. All right, that's good. Good tone kind of on the paper. It's a little bit better than just working straight from the white of the page. Now I have this willow charcoal once again, and we're going to start to block in these big shadow shapes. Don't be perfect with it. Just try to focus on these large scale shapes. Push the tone. Don't go too dark too quickly, because it's harder to go from very dark to light if you've gone too dark than it is to go from a medium tone to darker. It's easier to darken stuff, so don't go too dark real quick. And it's okay, it's pretty rough. We're going to refine the face a lot. We're not going to worry about refining all the other parts. We just want it to read as the correct darkness, which is called value. All right, so this is going to be darker here. I'm going to fade it out a little bit here. So I'm squinting at this reference here, and I'm starting to get a little bit of a similar read of what I'm drawing, which is exactly what we want. Now I'm going to start to refine a little bit. I'm going to put some shadow shapes into where I want the eyes to kind of be around. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. This is willow charcoal. It'll wipe away real easy. Shadow shape here for the nose, kind of in between there. I'm trying to consciously keep an idea of where the proportions are by measuring things along the other things. Like, for example, you've got the same distance for the eye from the middle of the nose here to the edge of the eye here. This shadow shape is about the same distance from the eyebrow here to the bottom of the nose, and I kind of keep that in mind. And then the same thing with having this shape and moving it down here, and you start to get down to the bottom of the chin. The thing is, you can't really see his chin because he has a beard, so we're not going to worry about that all that much right now. So as you can see, all the areas around the portrait, not the exact face, but everything around it, I'm gonna be really loose with, I'm gonna be really expressive with, because it's all these loose ends and unrefined areas are actually gonna draw the eye of the viewer into the face. And we want the focal point to be the face. Where you want the focal point to be, you're gonna have the most contrast changes. So grab this kneaded eraser. You want it to be light here, light and dark here, and then more of a mid-tone / dark range on the outside, a little bit more chaotic. So we'll refine that. So I'm gonna make this into a chisel shape and start to pull away some of these where this light's hitting this face. Big areas, not small areas yet. Don't worry about all the details yet. Just the large areas. You wanna squint with your reference, you wanna squint at your drawing, and you want that to match much longer before you start to try to refine, try to add details. The biggest mistake I see on a lot of young artists is they try to start refining and adding details long before they're supposed to, long before their proportions are accurate, and long before the foundation of the drawing is sound. Usually the part that comes out the furthest is probably going to be the brightest and the most shadow. So the tip of the nose seems to be it. So here if I zoom in on my reference, tip of the nose is really bright here, and the bottom of the nose underneath that shadow is going to be dark too. Maybe even the pupils. It's kind of where we want that high contrast area to be. If something's not too dark and not dark enough, that's okay. Just focus on what you're lightening at the moment with the kneaded eraser, because you're gonna be able to come back in and start to push some of those shadow shapes back into the background with the compressed charcoal, because that goes even darker than the willow charcoal. I'm squinting and I see some midtones here in the beard that actually kind of start to form that, so start to apply those. It's easy to erase way too bright, so keep that in mind, and be subtle with your erasing strokes. Don't push too hard. You're just going to get white and black. You don't want white and black. You want all these little nice midtones and these little shadow shapes starting to emerge from the drawing. In fact, I think it's a little too bright overall, so I'm going to just take my finger and my hand and softly blend that together. If you push too hard, you're going to lose all of your measurements, and you're going to lose all of your shadow shapes. So don't push too hard. But if you push too light, you're not going to start to darken those areas that are of lightness that are overexposed. So now I'm going to take this compressed charcoal, and I'm going to try to carve in those really dark areas and start to sculpt and refine a bit. Not too much, don't go into crazy detail, but start to refine some stuff and start to correct some of those proportional issues. I spend probably the most amount of time when I'm drawing on this stage. Pushing and pulling, I'll go back to my kneaded eraser and come back to my compressed charcoal and back to my kneaded eraser and refine a little bit and alter proportions, alter value changes, and try to make it read as if it's lively without having too many detailed strokes yet. Not worried about that all that much. Blend, blend, blend again. You could even take your blending stump, that's what this is for, and then go over it lightly. Start to blend some of those shapes in. Start to hint at some of those wrinkles, maybe a little bit. Don't get caught up in them. It's easy to get caught up in those. Try to make the feel happen. You know, I'm looking at my reference almost as much as I'm looking at my drawing. Sometimes I even look at it more because I really want to understand what I'm drawing, and I don't want to just get stuck on my drawing the whole time and then just kind of making a whole other drawing than what I'm looking at. Then you're going to start to draw. Might as well not draw with the reference, right? So, and you can totally customize your piece to your liking, but it's really good to kind of keep hold of the original reference because it'll allow your drawing to be stronger and allow your drawing to be more unique than something that you just draw over and over again from your mind. So now I'm going to keep pushing the drawing in this direction. It's just going to take some time to actually keep carving it out and keep sculpting this piece into a stronger piece. and more closer to the direction that we want to take it in. Once we get it there, I'll be right back, and I'll start to work on the details with you and kind of explain the mindset behind the details process. All right, now that I've developed a piece to go a little further in the direction that I wanted by just layering and layering, pushing and pulling shadows and light, and sculpting as I go, checking my dimensions as I go. Now I'm using the charcoal pencil and cross-hatching shadow shapes and developing those and refining the values at the same time by creating this texture, almost this artificial texture of line. And so as long as my values are pretty solid and pretty close to where I want them before I start to draw details in, then the details are going to work really well. But if your values are all over the place and they're not accurate and it's not reading well as a drawing already, and then you start to detail things in, it's not going to work well. It's going to be like what my art teacher used to call a polished turd, which is just like a drawing that is not exactly where it should be, with values and with large scale shapes and with proportion. But then you start to refine that piece that is not where it needs to be before you start to refining. So it's refining it too early. So keep that in mind as you draw. You might not be able to start to do details as quickly as you'd like, but that's okay. Keep pushing the piece in the large scale. And then once it is where you want it to be, once it's almost already successful drawing without adding any detail at all to it, then you could start to push it with those small details, and don't get caught up like, oh, I'm gonna make this eye right here. Like, I don't even have many details in the eyes, but it still reads like eyes almost because of the shadow shapes being more accurate. But don't get caught up and then try to finish this entire eye, and then you move to this one and finish this entire eye, and then you start to work to the nose. No, just work on the piece and circulate and move around the piece incrementally. And don't get caught up in one thing. Otherwise, you're going to have a lopsided drawing, and you're going to have a really good eye, and you're going to have a really bad eye, and then you're going to have an unfinished drawing. Instead, you want it to be balanced. You want it to read well. So as I finish this drawing up, I just want to tell you guys, I know I'm working through this quickly. I know that the information is quick and is kind of hard to catch on to, although I still think that this is valuable information for you guys, and I want to help you guys achieve what you want to do with drawing. As you guys grow and learn as artists, I'm still growing and learning as an artist, and I always will be. But just so you guys know, if you guys want more intense, more focused and refined directions about the material I'm using, the paper that I'm using, the easel, everything, including my methods, and more detail on how I measure proportions, how I calculate values, and everything in between that, I have drawing courses available. In fact, I have a specific course right now that had just released recently. If you go to madcharcoalshop.com or even madcharcoal.com, it should bring you up to where I sell my artwork, and you can actually see there's a tab there that's called courses. And if you look there, you can see what works for you and how you can continue to improve and get these detailed, not just tutorials, but courses that are actually more closer to mastering the art of charcoal, mastering artwork itself, not so much getting these tips and tricks videos that are a little bit shorter like this one. Although I want to share this with you guys too and help you guys out, even if you don't want to buy something a little more expensive to learn. So just keep in mind that that's out there for you guys if you feel so inclined to continue in this journey along with me. I also do have a Patreon if you're looking for personal critique on your pieces itself. It's Mad Charcoal on Patreon or Josh Hernandez on Patreon. That's cool too. There's some tips and tricks and challenges in there, a little bit of a community alongside the Mad Charcoal art community. It's not as detailed and as lesson based as the course is, but it's more interactive, and it's something that you could just kind of learn alongside everybody else. And most of those people also have the drawing course and kind of share their experience along with it in that. I think this piece is pretty kind of where I want it to be. I could kind of refine endlessly on this drawing, and I don't want it to get a little dull, so I think it's kind of time to stop on this piece. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys are the best. Like, subscribe, and comment whatever it is you want me to know. I do read the comments, so I'll talk to you guys later.